Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing a full-on autopsy of reality itself. Think about it for a second. When you download a new app, what do? You instantly scroll past the terms of service and just hit accept without reading a single word, right? Well, humanity kind of did the exact same thing with the universe. We just woke up, accepted the conditions of existence, and started playing around with the raw materials. But here's the catch. Reality's source code is actually poorly written, super chaotic, and honestly, surprisingly hostile. So, let's dive into this and finally read the fine print of the universe.
Seriously, take a look at your hands. Look at the screen right in front of you. Every single thing you've ever touched, tasted, or interacted with is built from a shockingly short list of building blocks. We totally take the solid, reliable nature of everyday objects for granted. But as we're going to see, when you strip matter down to its absolute base components, you realize we are actually swimming in a sea of potentially lethal, highly unstable, and downright bizarre microscopic elements. The periodic table is essentially that source code. It's got about 118 fundamental features, glitches, and straight-up hazards. And what's truly wild is how combining these basic atomic elements completely rewrites their individual code. Take water, for instance. It's cool, refreshing, and literally essential for life. But to make it, you have to merge hydrogen, which is a highly explosive gas, with oxygen. You're taking two highly combustible, dangerous features, smashing them together, and somehow you get a refreshing drink. I mean, that is just the bizarre logic of the universe's code.
Chapter 1. Unlocking the code by accident.
Long before we actually understood atoms, early humans were desperately trying to hack the universe's code using the only tools they had. And let me tell you, it involved going to some ridiculous and frankly incredibly gross lengths to figure out what the world is made of. Take the discovery of element 15, phosphorus. So, back in the 17th century, this alchemist was obsessively searching for the mythical philosopher's stone, the thing supposed to turn base metals into gold. His genius scientific method, he collected massive amounts of human urine and just boiled it down. Now, he definitely didn't find the philosopher's stone, but he did notice something glowing in the dark, sludgy residue. That glowing substance was phosphorus. It's a completely critical element for human DNA and bone structure, and we completely isolated it by accident from a boiling vat of bodily fluids. Just incredible.
And the deadpan absurdity of human scientific progress really doesn't stop there. Honestly, so much of our early code-breaking was purely accidental and, quite frankly, incredibly smelly. Iodine, which is essential for human thyroid function, was discovered when a chemist literally just accidentally treated seaweed ash with sulfuric acid, suddenly producing these gorgeous but highly toxic purple vapors. Or consider bromine, element 35. It's a liquid at room temperature with this eerie red color, also isolated from seaweed ashes. Its smell was so overwhelmingly horrific that they literally named it after the Greek word for stench. You just can't make this stuff up.
And when we weren't boiling bodily fluids or making toxic vapors, we were just deeply misunderstanding the source material. Take iron, for example. It's the most abundant element on Earth by mass and basically the entire foundation of human civilization. But get this, the ancient Egyptians didn't mine their first iron. No, they found it inside meteorites that had literally crashed into the desert. Because it fell from the sky, they worshipped it. They called it the metal from heaven. It is just a perfect, beautiful example of humanity stumbling completely blindly through the universe's sandbox.
Chapter 2. The Ignored Hazard Warnings.
Okay, so if the periodic table is the terms of service, there are some massive, absolutely terrifying safety disclaimers baked into reality that we just casually ignore every single day. Let's look at the elements that actively want to hurt us. Warning number 1, strontium. Specifically, strontium-90. Now, strontium naturally creates those beautiful bright red colors you see in fireworks. Beautiful, right? But humanity, in its infinite wisdom, created strontium-90 as a byproduct of nuclear testing. And the hazard here is absolutely killing. Because strontium sits right below calcium on the periodic table, your body literally cannot tell the difference between the two. So if you ingest it, this radioactive isotope secretly replaces the calcium in your skeleton. It basically embeds a radioactive hazard directly into your own bones.
Then we have element number 9, fluorine. It is, without a doubt, the most aggressively reactive non-metal in existence. It is so wildly reactive that it will even form compounds with noble gases, which usually just flat out refuse to interact with anything. Early researchers who tried to study and isolate pure fluorine, they were routinely killed or severely injured by explosions and poisoning. It was so completely lethal that chemists literally gave it the nickname, the Tiger of Chemistry.
And man, the list of horrors just keeps going. Take sodium. That's literally half of the table salt you eat every single day. But in its pure form, its outer electron is so incredibly loosely bound that it violently explodes on contact with water. We actually have to store this stuff in oil just to keep it calm. Then there's thallium, which earned the terrifying nickname the poisoner's poison because its deadly symptoms perfectly disguise themselves as a common illness. And of course, mercury, that mesmerizing liquid metal. Ancient Chinese emperors actually drank the stuff, fully believing it would grant them immortality. Instead, they were chugging a lethal, brain-destroying neurotoxin. Let's be real here. The universe absolutely did not build these elements with our safety in mind.
And we really can't talk about ignored warnings without mentioning radium. This radioactive element was once famously used to paint glow-in-the-dark numbers on wristwatches. People were literally painting it onto everyday consumer products before we fully grasped the absolute nightmare of radioactivity. To this day, the research notebooks of Marie Curie, the brilliant scientist who discovered these elements, are still highly radioactive. If you want to go read them right now, you literally have to sign a waiver and put on protective gear. And get this, they will remain hazardous for thousands of years.
Chapter 3. Cynical Exploitation.
Now let's explore the deeply ironic and honestly somewhat pathetic ways modern humanity exploits this advanced universal code. We take these elements with epic, mind-blowing origins and geopolitical drama, and we use them for the most mundane things imaginable. Take titanium. It is incredibly strong in feather light. During the height of the Cold War, the CIA actually set up fake shell companies to secretly buy it from the Soviets just so they could build the SR-71 spy plane. And today, we use it to make ridiculously expensive camping spoons. Or how about aluminum? Before we figured out how to easily extract it, it was literally rarer and more valuable than gold. Napoleon III served his most honored royal guests with aluminum utensils, while the regular peasants used gold. Now, we wrap our leftover pizza in it and just toss it in the trash. And helium, an element literally born in the fiery nuclear fusion of stars. We are actively running out of it here on Earth. But instead of just wasting it on squeaky voices and birthday balloons, we are critically depleting our limited reserves to manufacture glass touchscreens for our smartphones.
So, the truly crucial point here is just how completely bizarre our relationship with these materials really is. Take silicon as the ultimate example. On one hand, it's literally just dirt. It's the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust. You can find it in literally every single grain of sand on the beach. But on the exact same hand, it is the absolute semiconductor backbone of all modern computer chips. Its totally unique property of being a half conductor, half insulator is what allows us to build transistors. Without this incredibly cheap, abundant dirt, our entire technological civilization would literally collapse overnight.
Chapter 4. Scarcity and Glitches.
While elements like silicon are everywhere, there are some elements on the periodic table that are so impossibly rare or ridiculously synthetic that they honestly feel like actual glitches in reality software. I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. 1 teaspoon. That is the total estimated amount of element 85, astatine, that has ever existed in the Earth's crust throughout the entire multi-billion-year history of our planet. It is the absolute rarest naturally occurring element. And get this, if you somehow magically managed to gather a teaspoon of it in one place, it would instantly vaporize itself because of its own intense heat and radioactivity.
Or how about francium, element 87? At any given moment, across the entire massive bulk of planet Earth, there is less than 30 grams of francium in existence naturally. It is so incredibly unstable, flashing into existence through radioactive decay and then just disappearing exactly as quickly. It's literally a fleeting ghost in the machine of the universe.
But the ultimate glitch, that goes to Oganesson, element 118. This is the heaviest element currently known to humanity, and it doesn't even exist in nature. To get it, scientists had to forcefully smash lighter atoms together in massive particle accelerators. And throughout all of human history, we have only ever managed to produce about 5 individual atoms of Oganesson. 5 atoms, that's it. And they existed for barely a tiny fraction of a second before decaying back into nothingness. And finally, let's talk about the element that has literally driven human greed, funded massive empires, and caused countless wars. Gold. Because it's completely inert and doesn't tarnish, we've prized it for millennia. But here is the stark, unbelievable reality of its scarcity. Every single ounce of gold ever mined by humanity in our entire history could be melted down and fit into a single solid cube measuring just 21 meters on each side. Think about that. All that history, all that blood and conquest for a block of metal that could basically fit inside a suburban cul-de-sac.
When you step back and look at the whole big picture, the truth is just undeniable.
Reality's source code is a chaotic, glitchy mess. The vast majority of the periodic table is made up of elements that are highly radioactive, fatally toxic, artificially fleeting, or impossibly rare. We just live our comfortable everyday lives floating on top of a very short, very hostile list of ingredients that we completely take for granted.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Every single time you drink a glass of water or tap on your smartphone or even just strike a match, you are actively triggering chemical reactions using the universe's glitchy, incredibly dangerous source code. The next time you interact with the everyday matter around you, will you actually stop and remember the ridiculous, perilous terms of service you agreed to just by existing? Keep that in mind as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.